John McHarg's. I'm an Excel weekly. I do 3D visuals for architecture. I've been doing architecture 20 years, but recently in August I decided, I made a really firm decision to start drawing again. I haven't done it for 20 years, and it was something in the back of my mind that I really wanted to do. So I'm going to go between, and I'm going to try and keep to 20 minutes, okay? I'm doing it in a slightly different format. The 3D visuals I do, and some of the drawings I've just started doing recently. This is a 3D visual I've done of an old wreck of a mansion down in Ayrshire. The visuals I was asked to do were very clinical for marketing, and of course every kind of advert you see is a lie. When I gave the client it was just full of, this is really nice, buy this apartment. I like to take the models I've done and the views I've done and change it and look for different things. Like, so I created a puddle texture to get the reflections, modelled a car and put the car in, and just to find something different within the image. I sent the clients that they're never impressed, ever. They always like the clinical marketing image. This is a wee crow in the snow. The first drawing I ever done when I started in August there, and it was just really an experiment to myself to see what kind of stage level I was at. I've got to say I was really pleased with that, and everybody I showed it, there's a certain amount of sadness and sympathy they see to this wee crow. Remarkably enough, somebody bought it, much to my wife's discontention, because she loves it, but it's gone now, babe, sorry. Right. I modelled this oil rig, and it was a really clinical image that they wanted. It was a paint company that contacted me and said, can you do some model of a sea scene, and can you show that I got the RAL numbers and that of the paint colours, and I gave them this lovely bright sunny blue image of an oil rig, but I went in and added rust and a bit of desolation and abandonment to them. Again, I sent them this free, and they hated it again, right? Because that's not what their paint's all about, they said. This was the second image. This was an A2 size, so it was round about this size. I deal with deer management a lot, so I'm really familiar with these beautiful things. But the image, I'll try to see, it's the difference between the texture of the horns and the fur. It's kind of incredible when you see a set of antlers and you know that they come from this beautiful animal. But I decided, right, I'm going to take a lot of time over it. It took me 22 hours. I timed it, and I used 0.3 and 0.5 clutch pencils, and it was just for me, it was just practice, but it turned out to be something that I liked, and it was kind of hypnotic doing, because it was so intense. The story behind this is that I was sitting in a car listening to the radio, and it's this old abandoned phone box, but on the radio at the same time it's a report about elderly people and how, like, in certain situations are so badly treated. And I'm looking at this phone box thinking, this phone box has served this nation as an iconic image and as a method of communication and so much more for generations. And there it is sitting there trashed and vandalised, and it was kind of tying in with what was being said in the report on it. So I kind of get quite emotional with this because it was really horrible. But I done this image just to say, look at this thing, it's beautiful, but nobody sees it anymore. Sometimes like how we translate elderly people. Anyway, I seen this image, it was an exhibition of homeless people in New York. But the reason I drew this is, if you look at the eyes of this old guy, I worked in the Scotia Bar in Glasgow. It was a fantastic bar to work in, some of the most amazing folk musicians I've ever seen. In the corner of the bar was this old guy, old Bobby. He looked exactly like the Alkinos in it, and he'd stand in the corner. As soon as the pub opened, we kicked him out at night every day for years, and old Bobby would get his half and half, right? And he'd say, he'd be half a lager and he's half a whiskey, and we'd give him it for free more often than not. And come at the end of lunches, he'd say, any free lunches, and we'd give him 3 lunches every day. And old Bobby everybody loved him. When that old bugger died, he was loaded, right? He was absolutely loaded. If you look in the eyes, I've added a wee glass. I'm sure every time he left that pub at night, he'd be like, that's it. As soon as I seen this, it just totally reminded me of Bobby, and the look in the eyes. I'm sure he must have been thinking, I got you again, guys. A wee explanation here. If you see the radiation sign and the red button and the kind of green glow, it was just something I made up one day. And just to say what's going on in this scene. Do not press the red button until the red button's signing. It leads to another image later. I just wanted people to look at this image and think, what is going on in there? There's some hints to it, and it's up to you to make your mind up, but it's obviously something nuclear. This will lead to another image later. Wake Up, this is called. It's another, again, it was just me trying out techniques. I'm really into some of the artwork at Dr. Sminsky, Paul Cadden for Glasgow, amazing. And Kevin Okafor. These guys are like really the guys I try and emulate, but to a point, because they draw photographs with pencils that look like photographs. Whereas if you draw it using a pencil, I think it's better that it's a bit of artwork that looks like a pencil drawing. So this was my attempt at detail to kind of emulate them. I'm pleased with it, but also we've got a tree full of ravens at our front, and every morning you hear them go, ah, wake up, ah, to the world, and that's just really what they're saying. The social structure is so fantastic. That's the usual thing I see. Again, another 3D. I've done a model and a full presentation, all the design drawings and everything for, they were doing kit models of old crofts, and I've seen them built and they were appalling. Right? You'd buy a bit of land and you'd order it and you'd get your kit model, and people think they were buying this dream, but they weren't. When it was built, it just looked like this flat pack house. So I took this model that I'd done for the company. Again, I kind of modelled up to what a old croft should be and sent them it. And of course, what do you think? They hated it. Mama Tembo, I seen this image again at an exhibition, beautiful, of this mother elephant, that's Swahili, Mama Tembo. And I try to, in drawing it and using detail, again it was just trying to get into the technique, but I'm trying to kind of portray that as this elephant at the end of a big long journey. It's up to you to decide, but I certainly didn't say so in the photographs, but to me that's what it seems like. I try to translate that in the drawing. Again, another 3D image. The first image I showed you, this is the house in the background. It had a wee path leading to it. It wasn't quite like that, but I'd done a morning image and a sunlit image, and just tried to say, okay, would you feel comfortable walking down there? But however, the light's shining here and there. At the end of this path is a home to go to. I experimented as well with the software uses, the only thing that limits you in the software is your own imagination. It's like taking a pencil. The only thing that limits you with a pencil or a pen, a bit of brush, music, is your own imagination. So with this software it's the same. So I added in trees, I modelled the trees, put the leaves in, and put in a sunburst, put fog in it, and then said, right, I was happy with that, and then I said, I wonder what it looked like at night, and I've done the same thing at night. So it's up to you to translate what's going on in the scene. But again, the kind of point of doing this is the software is so advanced. I think like my inspiration we used getting into software was Toy Story 1. When I seen it, I was blown away and I started using it. So I've been using it 15 years now, and when I feel like doing a bit of artwork in it, again, nothing limits you. These ravens again, they're everywhere. This is a photo I've seen of this wee raven just looking up, and I thought, how can I add to that? And the kind of expression of the angle with the head, it's looking up, and I've called it First Snows of Winter, and it's looking up, it's like a young first season raven, it's looking up saying, what is this? It's snow, it's the first snow it's ever seen, so that's really the only reason I drew it, because I think I loved it, and I wanted to add something to it. Nightclub I designed last year, it's not been built yet. The client asked for, he gave me a general brief and says, okay, can you produce some images, and he just let me open up with it. So here on top left hand, that's the entrance, here and here, and he says just design something, just go ahead and design it, and he let me just flow it. So I produced all the technical drawings. The clients look at them and they go, can I see a drawing? So I produced quite a series. In fact, I've done a movie for him of these, and this was just showing him, okay, this is hospitality suite, this is you can in, this is queuing system, and he says, what's this, all these drawings, what's this? I said, well, look, you've got maybe 2,000 people outside and inside queuing. Why do you have blank walls? Show them a gallery space and whatever, but the potential again of the software for you, if you know it, to use your own imagination. So that's what I've done. I used my own imagination to show him my ideas. This was just that's my wife. No, this was just another, because I've just started drawing again, this was just another kind of test to myself to try and do a nude. Again, the internet is just full of amazing stuff that you can use as reference source. So I've seen this image, and it was really, honestly or not, believe it or not, it was just about getting the sheet right rather than the texture and the skin right. I'm pleased with it, but again, I've just started recently, so I'm no sure of myself, but I'm pleased with it, and maybe that's what part of the art's about. This is the image of the desk which led me to do this one. You can hardly see it, but there's a wee guy standing in a radiation suit there. Here is a skeletal arm. We told you it would happen. It was just another 3D thing, but once I'd done that desk, I said, well, what would be the lead on? I thought to myself, what would be the lead on? It's an abandoned something. Well, I don't know what is it, a missile silo or something, but I done it, and I contributed it to a competition, the CGI competitions everywhere all over the world. I contributed this, and I got a response back from them saying, yeah, that was interesting, but it's nowhere near good enough. But I was pleased with it. But it's just really, took these images. You can take like anything off the internet and use it as a material. Like this was just a picture of some graffiti I'd seen. I took it, worked it up in Photoshop and put it on the scene, and you just layer everything. All of the ivy here you see, it's just all layered, but the point of the image is what's going on there, and it goes with the other image. This was the first portrait I'd attempted, and finding my way back into drawing, I'm kind of finding what paper is best for me, what pencils are best for me, and I finally settled on a 180 gram paper and an HB and a B pencil and 0.3 and 0.5 clutch pencils. And I attempted this 3 times, ripped them up and burned them before I got to this, and thinking, right, I'm starting to get somewhere. I'm never quite satisfied with it, and I hope that stays the same, because you should never be quite totally satisfied with the art you do, otherwise you'll try and keep looking to better yourself. But for that, I was pleased with the kind of inspiration of Dirk Dismursky and Kevin Okafor with the way they do the hair. YouTube is amazing. It's the great educator, and that's where I learned how to do the hair in this drawing, and that's the techniques I learned on YouTube. I practiced here, and I don't know if I got it right, but I like it. This was another competition entry. It was like design a tunnel, and that was all it was, and give us a 3D visual of it. So my tunnel was just this kind of organic structure using concrete, and it was actually for a place in Arizona. I came up with that, put fog and sand in it, had a photograph of the desert, dropped that in the background and dropped a funky car in it. They liked it, but of course, like, it wasn't good enough. But I liked it because it taught me a lot. I went back onto YouTube again and went into and experimented with a lot of different techniques in modelling that I'd never used before, and that's how I managed to get the structure there and how tidy it became. 3 weeks ago, the deer you seen earlier, I sold that. I couldn't believe it, somebody bought it. And they were in a framing shop as myself and my wife were walking by. Had just bought it and took it in a framing shop purely coincidentally, and so I went, oh, I drew that. And there was a guy in the shop trying to buy it after the woman that just bought it. So an argument prevailed, and he asked me to draw the same stag, and I says, no, I'm not doing that, I'm not doing the same drawing. So he sent me this photo of a stag, and it's the first commission I've ever had, and he's paid for it, and I'm still blown away by this. So that's it. I just finished that last week. That again, that's like A2 size. Another commission I was asked to do. This is a really bizarre story. The first drawings I done, I had them put them up in a wee barber shop in Dunblane. My mate Andy, he's got this wee barber shop. It's always mobbed, and he said, "I'd stick some of your drawings up." And I didn't know the guy, but I got a phone call from the chairman at East Stirling saying, "Can we commission you to do a drawing at Alex Ferguson?" Aye, sure. So I says, "Well, can I meet him and draw him?" Or he says, "No, just draw him." So I went on the internet and he knew his famous pose here. So I done this drawing and donated it, but it turns out it's going to a charity auction. So I can't charge the guy for it. It's going to charity for Parkinson's UK. So they took it. The guy was delighted. I'm now on the back of their football tops as a sponsor. And then he came to me a few weeks ago and said, "Can you give some prints?" And I says, "Yeah, sure, but I'll need to charge you guys." It's £190. I'll get for print. He says, "Yeah, can we have 100?" I was totally blown away from just picking a pencil back up in August to being in this position. It's fantastic. This was a joint project with me and my wife. 9 months in the making and 6 weeks as a work in progress. It's our son Joe. That's me.